Welcome everybody. This video is focused on iMovie and how to get started editing in iMovie. And this video will be very basic. We'll follow this up with other videos on how to do more complicated editing projects in this platform. But for now, this is just enough to get started. When you open iMovie for the first time, you're going to see your project landing page here. And you'll see a Create New project. And any existing projects that you might have will also be listed here. But for now, if you open it and all you see is the gray box with the plus sign, that's perfect. We can click on that and we will click on the movie option. And that will open up the iMovie interface here. So on the far left is where we have our navigation area here, where we can see the project that we have selected, which is My Movie, and I can rename this if I'd like to by clicking on Projects, and I can name this here, and I'm going to call this iMovie Basics Tutorial. There we go. And so you see it returns now to my project panel, and if I double click on that, it takes me here, and then I can see that that project is active because it's up here, iMovie Basics Tutorial. Looks like I misspelled basics. Sorry, folks, but I'm not going to go back and correct that now. All right, cool. So one of the things we can do is also look at right adjacent to our navigation area is where we will see all of our imported media. And when we start importing media, we'll see those thumbnails there. Down below in the interface is our timeline or our sequence. This is where we'll do the editing. And then, of course, over here on the right-hand side, we see our playback window. But let's go ahead and get started. We'll go right into importing. This is a very simple program, and it's really easy to get up and running on it very quickly. So importing media is very simple. It takes you to kind of a file structure navigation window, pop-up window here. I'm going to go into my external hard drive. You can navigate where you're pulling your files from. And I'm going to go and find these here. And these are just folders that I can open up. And I can select one or as many of these files as I want at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and select a lot of them, all from a day of gardening with the Yeah Kids. The Yeah Kids is an after-school gardening program funded by Community Food Initiatives, which is a food justice nonprofit here in Athens County. I did a video for them, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm going to use a little bit of that footage to illustrate how to use iMovie. Let's go ahead and import our selected material. And you can see there that now all of those thumbnails, those video clips that I imported are now here. Now, the way that iMovie works is all I have to do is hover over with my mouse cursor. I don't have to press any buttons. And it automatically, if I'm just moving across one of these thumbnails, you can see it's moving the image over in the playback window. And it's not playing it, but it follows my cursor back and forth. We call this scrubbing. And so anytime I hover over any clip, it's going to play that clip back and it's going to scrub it. If I do want to play it back, I can just click anywhere in the clip and a yellow band goes around it and I can hit the space bar.
All right, so first, left hand.
So now that I have all of my items here, I do want to take just a tiny little tangent and talk about file asset management or file organization best practices. It's always great to start this early. So over here in my movie library, this is when, and then if I make sure that this little tab up here at the top of my project panel, My Media, this will show my imported files. But say that I want to organize my files in different folders. I can do that. What I can do is I can create a new event just by right-clicking my iMovie library. So if I create a new event, it's going to give me a subfolder, and I can title this, and I'm going to call this Yeah Kids. And then what I can do is I can take all of those items, I can select, click, hold, and drag them into my Yeah Kids folder. And because these are all Yeah Kids, I'm going to go ahead and take all of them and drop them into my Yeah Kids folder. Now, if I'm in my iMovie library, I still see them all. They're all still here, but if I am bringing in other footage for other projects, I can create a folder for them, and so that I don't have to see thousands of pieces of media over several different projects. I can just focus in on this particular event or folder and say, yeah, this is an afternoon with the Yeah Kids. I only want to look at that footage, so I'm only going to click on this and see only these images from the Yeah Kids. So it's a little bit of asset management that's unique to iMovie that I want everyone to be aware of. But now we're ready to start editing. It's very, very simple. And in order to start editing, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull a clip from our project panel down into our timeline. And I'm going to try to find a good one here that I can use. See, I like this one here because it tilts down from the sky. So I'm just going to click, hold, and drag this down into the timeline and let it go. And you notice anything with iMovie, if I let it go anywhere in the timeline, it snaps to the left. So this is what we call a magnetic timeline. And because all of our programs will start on the left, just like text on a page starts on the left, we're a very left to right culture, that it wants to snap to the left because that's the beginning of the show. It doesn't want any blank space. And so it's kind of making that convenience for you. Now, I don't want this whole clip. I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of it so you can see it.
Oh, yeah, they can always write down. Whenever they work when we're not here. Yeah.
That's great. I love the tilt down from the sky. I think that's a great way to establish the scene. So what I'm going to do is, there's a little bit too much sky in the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point, and this is my playhead here. I'm going to pick this little cursor and pick, okay, just want it to start just before it tilts down. So you can see I'm click, hold, and drag that playhead, and I'm scrubbing to find the perfect point, and right about there. Now, I don't need this portion over here before the playhead. I actually want the shot to begin here. So I have two different ways in which I can do that. One is that I can hover over the end of the clip and see my cursor change. We call this a handle. So I can grab this handle, I can click, hold, and drag, and I can move it to where I want the clip to begin. And that becomes my new beginning. If I don't want to do that, I'm going to just hit Command Z to undo, and I can Command B. And what Command B does is, if you notice right there, it created an edit, it created a cut. So I could just take this portion that I don't want, and I can hit the delete key. And now the clip begins.
Oh, yeah, they can always write down. Whenever they work when we're not here. Yeah.
And I want it to end right there. I've established the scene. The clip goes on for a little bit longer, and that's okay. But I really want to move on to the next shot here. So I want to create an edit here. And to do this, it's going to be very convenient for me just to Command B. And Command B will put the cut exactly where my playhead or cursor is. Command B, delete this. Now notice when I'm deleting this from the timeline, it never deletes the raw material from up here. The raw material is still up here in the project panel in the full clip. Excellent. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the next clip, I'm going to bring this in, and we're going to repeat this process. First of all, I'm going to see how these two shots might cut together. That's kind of cool. Now, I don't like it when I hear that thunk thunk kind of hammer. I kind of want the clip to begin after he does that little hammering maneuver. So I'm going to trim this down a little bit. I'm going to grab the handle, which is on the left-hand side of this clip, and I'm just going to trim it up to where I have my marker. There we go. Now I'm going to see how this cut plays out.
I'm going to watch it.
Great. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this clip to about here, and I'm going to, right where my playhead is, Command B to split the clip, and then delete this part that I don't need. And now I've got two shots that I've added here together. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat this process over and over again. Now, before I do that, I just want to take one other little tangent here to show you our project settings. And that is over here on the far right-hand side at the upper right of our timeline. If I click on that, it's going to give me some project settings. Right now, it's telling me my resolution is 1080p. That is a screen resolution number, and 1920 by 1080p is full HD, and it's saying that because the clips that I have, my video clips, I've shot them in 1080p, and so my project settings are matching my clip settings, and that's pretty normal. Now, I don't really need any of these other things selected, but one of the things you always want to make sure is audio show waveforms. That's this little squiggly line down here on the bottom of each of these clips. That actually shows us that sounds are being made. And if I ever want to make these clip sizes a little bit bigger, because right now they're kind of small, if I ever want to just make them a little bit taller, I can do that. And I can scroll both with my playhead to find the beginning and to find the end. And then if I ever, getting out of this, want to magnify, zoom in, or zoom out of my timeline or my sequence, I can use this scale bar here. So right now these look smaller, but those clips are the same length, only because I zoomed out. And then if I zoom in a little bit, now we're getting a little bit more detail. And so these clips appear bigger, but they're not any longer. We're just zoomed in. Okay, so now I'm going to repeat the process over and over again, stacking some clips together and telling the story of the Yeah Kids gardening after school. Now, one item I'm going to say here, this is a really long clip. It's over a minute long. And if I don't want to bring this whole clip down into the timeline, what I can do is I have handles on the thumbnail of the clip. I can actually trim this clip up here and just bring in the portion that I do want, which is, I like this part where he is watering. So now you see this yellow band is only over a certain part of the clip. So if I click and hold and drag that down, it's just going to bring that part down into the timeline. Alright, and so now you see that I've stacked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clips in order. And so what I've done is I simply dragged all of a clip or a portion of a clip down into the timeline, and then I changed the duration of those clips by clicking on the handles and dragging them from the left to the right, or by placing my playhead and hitting Command B to make a cut and then deleting the portion that I don't want. Now remember, Command Z is undo. So if you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Command Z will go ahead and back that process up. Now one other thing that you can do in the timeline, none of these clips are locked into place. So what you can do, if you'd like to, is click, hold, and drag a clip up and out of the way. And you see the other clips collapsed to the left. But watch when I put this clip back in, it moves them out of the way, and then I let go of my mouse and it places them in. So now I can change not only those clips' duration, but also their order. Cool. And actually, I do like the order of the way I had it, so I'm going to move it back. And there we've got now and our counter is telling us that we're at about 1:05. So now we have 1 minute of kids doing some after-school gardening as a part of their community food initiatives program. Now this is pretty cool, and one of the things I am going to do is I'm going to go into my kids here, and then I'm going to Command I for import. Brings up my import window here. It's going to wake up my hard drive here a second. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in some music too. And we see that when we bring in music, all we see is this green thing here with also some audio waveform. And I can play that back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, hold, and drag and place that down below my clip, all my clips here. So now I've got this music here, but I don't need all of this. So remember, Command B, there we go, and then I just highlight the portion that I don't need. And if I want a little bit extra, I can always click and hold and drag that, and then it'll show me part of what I just deleted. Now, when I have this here and I play this last part, the music is really loud. So I don't need the music to be that loud. And for all of these sounds, I can adjust the audio levels quite easily. So when I hover over a piece of audio, there's a middle line that's there. When I hover over that middle line, my cursor changes. If I click, hold, and drag that line, I can drag it down. And you see how my audio waveform changes? It means it's reducing the volume. Now, getting the natural sound to music audio balance is always an art form, so I won't go too much into that. We'll talk about mixing at a later time. But also, if I wanted to change the audio waveform of any of my individual clips, I could do that as well. So if I wanted to make these a little quieter, because they're a little loud too. Let's see if we can find the right balance and play this through. Let's go ahead and play it through.
Oh yeah, they can always write down. Whenever they work when we're not here.
Could you just water on top of the time though? You don't want to put it
Okay, that works out really, really good, a lot better than I expected. Now, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to shorten up this audio so that it ends pretty close to where our video will end, and we're going to add a little fade out, because right now the music ends abruptly. So over this little node that we see at the end of the audio, I don't know if you can see that, but if I click, hold, and drag that to the left, it's going to create a little curved line. And when we play that through, and it fades the music out. Now we can do that with this audio as well. We can do that with any audio. And I shorten this up just a little bit so that it times at the end. But I also want to do that to the picture as well. So that means we're going to go into a separate part of our navigation area up here in the upper left and find what we call a transition. We want to find a fade out, and this is called a cross dissolve. You can highlight by hovering over any of these transitions. It gives you a preview of what it might look like. And right now, I think fade to black is good. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag this all the way down to the end of my clip. And then I'm going to let it go. Let's see how it looks. Perfect. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of simple text. And to do that, we're going to go in our titles panel up here. Now again, if you hover over any of these things, it gives you a preview of what all of these pre-built text effects will look like. This one looks kind of cool. Let's try it. So if I highlight it and I click, hold, and drag it, watch where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it over this point here on my first clip. And I'm also going to lengthen it a little bit. Now once I do that, it says title text here. Well, that doesn't do me any good. I want this to say something specific. So if I just highlight it over here in the playback window by triple clicking it, I can say the Yeah Kids. And then I can change the font, I can change the size, I can change its orientation, anything that I want. And then when I play that back,
Oh yeah, yeah, they can always write down. Yeah. Whenever they work when we're not here.
perfect. Now when you're ready to export your final video in iMovie, you're going to go to the very, very top right, little icon with the box with the arrow pointing up and out of it. That is our universal export icon. If I click on that, I have a couple of different options here, but they're both pretty much the same, so I want to alert you to it. Either one that you do, YouTube and Facebook or export file, are both just going to export a file for you with almost the same features. So I'm only just going to show you export file. This option does not automatically upload your video to YouTube or Facebook as it has done previously in previous versions of iMovie. So if I go into export file, I want to make sure that I give it the proper name. I'm going to keep my name as iMovie Basics Tutorial, but I am going to fix my spelling there. Basics Tutorial, that's good. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that video and audio is selected, and that I'm also going to make sure that 1080p is selected. That's the resolution that I shot this film in, so I want to make sure that I have the highest quality image possible. Quality, I'm going to leave it at high. If I move it to best, it's going to change my file format, and that file format is no longer going to be optimal for YouTube uploads. And then compression, leave it at better quality. So we're going to go ahead and click next, and it's going to allow us to name this again, and it's also going to give us a location. This is my proper location, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then we see a little progress bar up here in the upper right hand of our interface. Once that progress is done, I can go ahead and go to that Finder window and verify that my export is there.
Oh yeah, yeah, they can always write.
And there it is. In subsequent videos, we'll show you how editing can get a lot more complicated, even in iMovie, as we're doing more complex editing projects and building toward our documentaries. But for now, this is certainly enough to get you started on the B-roll assignment and with any other simple video edits that you'd like to do.